Peter Wright, a very dangerous opponent, and a man perhaps who will be looking to make sure there are no scares along the way here. He certainly had to overcome a huge battle in his previous match against Joe Cullen, surviving 5 match darts to make it this far. Wright against Rodriguez, Rob Malarkey in the chair for this one, Paul Nicholson back alongside me.
Pleasure. Real pleasure to see this one. And in the words of Mark Walsh, we've got a couple of red carpet dart players here. He coined that phrase a lot.
22.
And what he means is flamboyant and thoroughly unstone-like. These are the kind of guys that when they do something, they will tell you about it. And
57.
sluggish start from both players. You can give them that. They always say it, and Peter Wright has come out and said this, that this is the hardest game of the whole weekend.
70.
After that big break from this afternoon, you've got to get back on the horse and play at the same level you did earlier, or in Peter Wright's case, play better.
Yes, got away with that one, I think. 85.98 the average against Joe Cullen, 6 out of 17 on his doubles. Cullen missing 5 match darts at double 12 and then double 6.
43.
When he was really hampered by 2 darts that really blocked his way through. And I mean, he smiled about it on stage, Joe Cullen, but once again, deep down, he'll be bitterly disappointed that he couldn't
98.
take full advantage of that situation, because he did beat Peter Wright fairly recently on the European Tour. That was in Denmark in
60.
round 3. But you just feel with Peter Wright, having weathered that particular storm, I think he can build on that, and I think this will be a very different performance by Peter Wright, certainly.
134.
Well, you would hope so after this leg. You know, we talked earlier about Adrian Lewis being on 3-6-7 after 12, which is something I've never seen. But might be slightly better, but 3-6 after 12 for Peter.
82.
Even
103.
224 after 15, he's only just cracked halfway. So Rowby can take his time and measure where he wants to be. It's good to see Rowby at the thick end of a tournament. And we've said it on many occasions. Is it the nappy factor?
Yeah, we have talked about that before, not just in darts as well, but in other sports where you become a father and suddenly you have this new appreciation of life and a new outlook, a fresh outlook.
You require 44.
Well, it's looking like it's going to happen again. It was the number 20 that he had on throw twice in the match with Cullen. He had 2 holes of 20 darts.
Peter Wright.
This time he's done it again.
Second leg,
But
Peter to throw
it's
first.
a break of throw.
Game on.
Rowby's going to be furious that
Yeah.
he's let his throw go there.
Peter Wright had a pretty ropey start to that leg, but he chipped away, got his scoring going, and then in the end he was
140.
able to make his move. These two, by the way, have met just once before. Here we are meeting in Vienna. The previous encounter
134.
was in Barnsley in
Course it was.
2015 in the Players' Championship Series. Peter Wright won that one by 6 legs to 2. Not long after that, Rowby-John Rodriguez made his first ever appearance in a Euro Tour quarter-final against Michael van Gerwen. He lost that 6-3 in Innsbruck in September of that year.
57.
Crowd really played their part in that one, but they've been, well, silenced a little bit from the word go by that Peter Wright steal.
Yeah, I didn't go to Innsbruck. I wasn't able to go to that one, and I'm very
171.
much jealous of the tales I hear from that tournament.
It was a great tournament. It was one of my first on the European Tour, and it was not quite a baptism, but yeah,
94.
it really opened my eyes, shall we say. It was a vibrant tournament. Crowd got fully involved. Beautiful setting. Tops was the target there for Peter Wright.
Would have been a great shot, but why? I say why. Because if
Well,
he goes outside the board, he's just starting to snooker himself. When Rowby is on 250, it's unnecessary.
22.
And we had this conversation, me and Dan, earlier. I've seen more unnecessary shots like that this weekend than any tournament I've ever been to.
There's a lot to be said, though, for playing with a bit of conviction and having a lot of faith in your own ability. I admit there's a balance to be found there, but he's got away with it anyway. And maybe he just felt with Rodriguez on 250 it was worth a go. Anyway.
I just think it's an unnecessary risk, because
60.
if he does go outside, he scores no points, and it does something to you when you don't score any points, when you simply need 76 and he's, 224 back. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that shot, if I'm honest. But it's in the book now, and Wright has got a 2-0 lead without playing well. Even though it was a 15-darter, but it looked a sluggish 15-darter. We talked earlier about the standards that we hold Michael van Gerwen to. Well, we hold big standards towards Peter Wright. And this weekend, he's having one of those James Wade-style tournaments where he's getting away with things without producing his best.
100.
He hasn't really found his range on that 60 since the middle part of his game with Dimitri van den Berg, where he was unbelievable.
Well, Peter Wright has gone close on the European Tour this year. He made the final in Sindelfingen and lost that one to Ian White by 8 legs to 7. He's made a couple of semi-finals, a couple of quarter-finals as well. 2018 wasn't too bad either. A couple of finals at the start of that campaign. 2017 was the stellar year that he had on the European Tour. But lately, encouraging signs once again for Peter Wright. He won 3 titles on the bounce, didn't he? German Masters on the World Series, couple of Pro Tours in Barnsley back-to-back as well, and then didn't fare too badly down under, made a semi-final in Melbourne, having made the last 8 at the World Match Play.
This is important. It's a shot at tops.
42.
That was more positive than the previous shot. But this is the kind of thing Wright has been snaffling up in his career. There was a little bit of a curve of the lip there, as if to say, I fancy this, Plenty of room underneath that dart for the 54 that he requires. He thinks he should have got that. If he throws 20 darts, he probably hits it 18 times out of 20.
40.
Tops then for RJR. For a beautiful dart. And the Rodriguez section of the audience, which is quite substantial.
It's growing, isn't it? Round by round.
It really is. Starting to cheer. I think the only 2 Rodriguez I can think of that aren't here are Michelle and Alex. If you don't know who they are, Michelle's an actress and Alex is a former baseball player for the New York
I've
Yankees.
seen him in action. Yeah. Famous Rodriguez's. I think this is going back something, by the way, but when Southampton won the FA Cup, their captain was called Peter Rodriguez.
What about Jay Rodriguez, a footballer?
Jay Rodriguez, yeah.
58.
Got any other suggestions? Answers on a postcard? Using the hashtag
ADC19.
Ooh, that's the second time that's happened today to Peter.
Well, there's all sorts of bits and pieces all over the floor here. Look at that. Need the cleaners on stage.
Yeah, he's got rings, these little spring rings on the stems, which compress the prongs at the top of the plastic, and it tightens the flight
59.
inside. And he's just caught the metal piece there, and he hasn't destroyed the stem, but I think he might have just destroyed that fly. Peter's got very muscular hands. If you've ever shaken hands with him, you can tell he's done a bit of hard labour in his life. I wouldn't want to be on the end of one of those.
Well, Rowby has been in a quarter-final before, as we said. It's a difficult thing to deal with, especially on a warm day as we have today, with the demands on playing so many matches if you are to go deep.
125.
Well, Rowby's been more deliberate in the early parts of this match. I think he understands that it's not coming naturally this evening, maybe a few nerves.
I think the fact is that let's face it, he's been involved in 3 absolute blockbusters this weekend already. Josh Payne, 6-5, he survived 3 match darts in that one. Daryl Gurney was a real battle, as you might expect, against the world number 3, and then Mike De Decker earlier today, 6-5. There may be an argument that, who knows, he might be running out of steam, but there's a counter argument from Rowby-John with that little approach play.
Yeah, really good use of the board. But it's double 11 for Snakey. And that one pushed nowhere near its target.
120.
And now, after that 139 setup, can he get one past that on the left side? He can. What a dart that is. We expect. They do, and he gets it. He equalises. And he wants to hear something from you. And they respond.
One break apiece. Rowby-John Rodriguez back in this one. And he's back in it with a 120 checkout after Peter Wright had missed a dart at double 11 for a 3-1 lead. Could have been 2 behind. But he's on terms.
I know what Rusty Jake is thinking, sitting in the crowd there. It's easier playing than watching. You sit in the crowd, it's all well and good, but you can't help your brother when he's up there.
Oh, he liked that one as well. I mean, those 2 darts were virtually on top of each other.
You can tell he just keeps exhaling, does Rusty. He's probably trying to get his fringe out the way.
97.
How do you get your fringe out the way if you're a Rodriguez? Get the hair wax out just like Rowby. That's a great quiff. Second best on the European Tour, I think.
He is loving that treble 19 bed right now. It's taking an absolute pounding.
Yeah, when you find your mark with that 60, and you've got a bit of pep about you, a bit of adrenaline, it's the size of a barn door. It's a great feeling. Might go bull here, try and leave 170. He's missed the 25, which he needed. He didn't really have to do that, really, because Peter's languished on 361. He could have just tried to focus on the 60. He's going to have to do that in the next visit.
100.
Still advantage Rodriguez. Starting to warm up now. Big style, but he might switch to try and take the 4 off here.
72.
Again, on the anchor dart, he is straight.
Peter Wright has just lost his way in this match. He needs a moment like this to just give himself a few reminders, and that is absolutely perfect from Peter Wright. That is timely, but Rodriguez looking at 1-2-2. He'll stay there, of course, for the treble 18, which he misses anyway.
90.
Nice leave.
Very nice leave. Hoping now that Wright doesn't take out this 81. This is for a break of throw. It would be a 3rd break of the match.
Gets the treble, double 13. Super finish from Peter Wright. Oh, that's a pro's finish. I'm the biggest advocate in the world for that moment being the big single 12 in the bull, but the confidence that Peter Wright has, he didn't even think single. He thought, I want to be hitting double 13, and he set it up beautifully and executed. Oh, it's quiet in here.
Well, the crowd are almost just absorbed and a little bit transfixed by this, because Rodriguez, I think he suspects that this one is there for the taking.
62.
But he's just falling into that trap of making it hard for himself again.
Maybe the crowd are out of breath after the Mensa Suljovic game, and this is possibly the worst game that they could have afterwards.
121.
Because they've got no puff left.
Yeah, I think they might have preferred a little bit of a break in between to just sandwich things, really.
Yeah, you don't get a break on the European
64.
Tour. It's wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, darts.
Big crowd in today, though. We've got steep banks of seating on either side as well of this floor area. And the one over the player's left shoulder is full.
The mystifying thing for me throughout this weekend with Peter Wright has been his misses. He's been going into the 5, he's been going into the 1, he's been going downstairs.
Sorry, when he said his misses.
He's been going into the 7, going for the 19s, he's been going into the 3, and going for the 17s. There's been some big straying into different segments, and I'm not used to seeing that from Peter. That's good enough right now to stay in touch with Peter. He's going to have to rely on a mistake from Snakebite if he's going to get himself that break back.
Thank you. Thank you. 48.
Well, that did Peter Wright no favours whatsoever. It had gone deathly quiet and there was an isolated scream, and even after an appeal from George Noble, it came again.
Yeah, if you're feeling hot, get an ice cream, not an isolated scream.
46, Peter 157.
However, best of order has been restored. But Peter Wright has not restored any order there with that visit either.
It's just not happening for Peter. The timing is off.
He's left himself a very awkward 1-1-3 as well, and if Rodriguez can make a big impression here, first dart lets him down, second dart is no better.
26, Peter 130.
Well, at least he's left himself a finish. I mean, it could have gone absolutely anywhere, that final dart, really.
It would be typical if he took up this 161 now.
After that shambolic visit beforehand.
Yeah, he was looking for the 171 on the previous visit with 3 treble 19s, which was done very well by Christian Bunser on Friday. A couple of times against Jermaine Watamina. But it's tops now for 4-2 for Peter Wright. That's not close. But double 10 this weekend has been his best friend. So much so that come February 14th, double 10 is getting a Valentine's card off him.
And for the second time in this match, Peter Wright has a cushion of 2 legs. Question is now whether he can protect it. Just feel with Rodriguez having fought back once. Yeah, he needs to stay well clear of that one. Having fought back once, does he have the gumption to do it again? I'm not sure he has. He just seems to be running out of momentum and running out of big numbers here.
59.
This is where the experience of playing in a lot of quarterfinals will stand Peter in good stead, because you can see the energy is low for Rowby-John. He's got to try and find a way to get more energy, and the only way to do that up there is to drink plenty of water, get some nice big deep breaths, get some oxygen in your lungs, and just try.
Rodriguez has had 12 sub-ton visits, by the way, on the bounce, and that is a nice way to end it. It was a horrible run for him. Visits of 26, 46, 59. It seemed to drag on and on for an eternity.
58.
And he's managed to just stop the rot. And even though he stopped the rot, Peter Wright may be in position still to open up a 5-2 lead, although Rodriguez, 2-4-2 minus that, gets himself in position on throw.
He can't afford to let Peter get to 5. He's got to focus and make sure that if Peter does get to 5, he gets to 4. Stay within striking distance. Now, bullseye's the right shot there. If Peter was on a finish, I would be the advocate for the 42, but there, he's done a pretty good job. After tricky double in double 11, but I like double 11, double 6, because you get the line right, everything sorts itself out.
He's going straight for it, and that's why, because again he had faith in his own ability there, and it's a hold of throw, a little cup of the ears. He wants more noise. He wants the crowd to play their part. He needs something to work with. He wants something to work with.
And he's trying to do it respectfully as well,
because he had a word in his ear before.
100.
Yeah, George Noble, our referee in this match, was also refereeing the Daryl Gurney match with Rowby-John last night, and he had to have a word with Roby about trying to up the volume in the match while Daryl was going to the oche, which was the tiniest bit naughty. But to be fair to Rowby-John, after that he didn't do it again. End of subject.
83.
It's easy to get carried away when you're playing a home game. Austrians like Rowby-John and Mensur, they only get this a couple of times a year. Got to make the most of it.
Well, it used to be just once a year, but yeah, Austria has been fortunate this year to have had the right to host 2 European Tour events. We had the Austrian Darts Open in Graz. That was another welcome, a warm welcome back to Graz. 2 terrific tournaments we've had there now.
There's more youth players coming through as well. I was in an Austrian town called Marchtrenk
100
last year, and was invited over there by my good friend Marcus Gruber, and he allowed me to practice with some of the youth players from northern Austria. Some good players up there. Watch out for them in the next 3 or 4 years.
96.
Don't go anywhere near that.
What do you do with that one?
If you score a 180 with that in there, I am going to give you 50 quid.
Go on, Peter. Just do it anyway. For that reason alone.
Now, the next squeaky here will be my wallet closing.
138.
I might give him a tenner for that one because that was a great dart.
Would that 50 quid go on his ranking money?
It would decrease from mine. So I'll be on minus 50. Great darts from Rowby. That's enough.
It is. He's trimmed off the 3. It is enough. He's got a shot if Peter Wright allows him.
That was Peter. I'd go double top, double 10 right now because double 10 has been his number. Tops.
60.
His left 10s.
Failure
Remains to be
required
seen
90.
whether he gets a look at it.
Well, Peter Wright had a 2-0 lead. Rodriguez hit back. Peter Wright had a 4-2 lead. Can Rodriguez hit back? Yes, he can. A 90 checkout on the bullseye, and we are level once again. And the crowd have reason to believe once again as well.
That's arguably dart of the tournament, that, because he's blocked the 60 bed with dart 1. He's created an angle for himself to see a lot of the big 20 to leave the ball. I'm expecting him to go back to the right of the hockey. He didn't move. He was a good 18 inches to the left, and he's planted that bullseye right in the middle. What a shot.
Yeah, he's having to switch here as well. That was a very awkward first dart, the way it pitched in.
57.
He would have loved at some 40, ton 80 to kick things off there.
Make no mistake, this is a game of two players who are feeling pretty flat right now, especially Rodriguez. You can tell he's tired when it's difficult for him to celebrate. He's trying to get this crowd on his side in a different way. He's running on fumes,
58.
you can just tell. And Peter Wright could be as well. He's done a lot of travelling in the last few weeks, and that will be taking its toll.
Well, Rowby-John Rodriguez came into this weekend with £4,000 on his European Tour Order of Merit. He's got another 5 guaranteed. If he wins this, he's got 6.5. These increments now are beginning to have every significance with every dart he throws.
Well, he's not in Mannheim. He is not in Riesa. So, on 9,000 right now, if he loses this game, he will then have to probably make the quarters in Gibraltar if he wants to get to Göttingen. If he wins this match
77.
and then loses in the semis, he'll still have to make Gibraltar.
But he won't have to go as far.
Correct. Don't think he's bothered about that right now. I think all he wants is the chance of going forward to try and get this title, but Peter Wright stands in his way. He is in the driving seat right now.
Yeah, could be. Well, it's almost like
92.
a mirror image of the first half of the match, actually. Wright broke for 2-0. Rowby-John hit back for 2 apiece, and then Wright broke back straight away for 3-2. And once again,
55.
Rowby-John breaking back to get level at 4 apiece, and Peter Wright is in position now to break back straight away and re-establish his lead at 5-4. And he's throwing first now for a 6-4 win and a place in the semi-finals here in Vienna. Was that Cameron Menzies there?
I'm not sure. But one thing we do have to establish for Cameron is a better nickname. So if you've got any suggestions, please let us know. Not having that dart player win the Challenge Tour, go to the Worlds and be on the tour for the next 2 years with a nickname Cammy. I'm just not having it.
140 for Peter Wright is met with
93.
Well, better than it might have been. Rowby just stumbled off the hockey there, almost twisted his ankle.
Yeah, he nearly did a Robert Thornton. Hope he's okay.
That could have been nasty.
Yeah, it's happened to me a couple of times. That sometimes you walk back from the hockey and you do it in a sort of natural way, and you just think you're going to miss the step. You just catch it with the back of your shoe. It can be painful. Looks to be all right.
94.
Earlier on, when Cameron Menzies was coming off the yoke, he was doing a little dance off it. He's actually sidestepping past the referee.
140.
Well, Peter Wright's the one that's dancing right now because he's 121 away from the semis.
Yeah, and he may well win again with an average of 80-something, just as he did against Joe Cullen earlier today.
Better darts from Rowby-John. Hasn't got to a finish, but he's showing a bit of spirit. I like that.
Peter Wright, though, has tightened up on his finishing in this match. Could not find the treble that
65.
would have left double 18.
Well, if Peter Wright had a shorter point in that dart, that was going to hit the 60. But the reason he's got the longer points in these days is because he wants those darts so close together for scoring. And he's going to have to hit this 56. Roby's on his tail.
56.
Semi-finalist in Zwolle earlier this year, semi-finalist at the European Darts Open.
46.
And not quite a semi-finalist here in Vienna just yet.
Well, they thought it was all over, as did I. Especially with him on double 10, the way it's been treating him this weekend.
40.
But now, all of a sudden, the crowd and the Rodriguez section have found their anxiety and their stress and their noise.
Well, this is what they want. They just want Rodriguez just to have a crack at a deciding leg, because if he can get that far, then the whole emphasis of this match changes completely. The whole dynamic changes. Level again at 5 apiece. He will not go away.
I know he's tired, Rob, and I get the feeling that that was the perfect moment just to let out some volume and get the adrenaline burst that he needed for this last leg. He still looks a bit flat. He's got to find adrenaline from ability in the first 6 darts for me if he's going to take Snakebite out.
Well, I tell you what, his finishing today, when you look at that as a solitary statistic, 5 out of 9 on his doubles. It's the scoring that's let him down in the main. When he's got into position, he has been pretty effective, certainly more effective than Peter Wright. And then bang on cue, he hits a 43 to open things up. That has been his 60. Undoing so far, but despite that, he's still involved, he's still going.
We should have known this was going to be 6-5 because Peter Wright's previous games here this weekend have been 6-5 and 6-5 against Dimitri and Joe Cullen. Here comes Rowby, and that was a lovely dart.
That'll do.
I love it when you get the parents and the brothers and sisters at the darts for a home game and they haven't been to a lot of them. It's just pure celebration.
42 the deficit, plus whatever Rodriguez can add on here. He loves that treble 19. It's been his real best friend at times today. Paul Nicholson a little bit bemused as to why he made the move.
Just on top of what you said, it was a great dart at 57. Why don't you stay there?
And he had lots of room as well. I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't as if it was an awkward lie or anything.
So plenty of ability in that arm to sneak it underneath as well. Peter can only get 1 treble of his own, and it's still advantage Austria. 19's needed now.
59.
Leaves the finish. Still has that ton-like cushion.
And I'll say it again, if he can get to a finish, or he's down to a finish first, but if he can get to a double first, you've got to fancy him. What sort of pressure can Peter Wright apply? Well, there's your answer.
World-class third dart from Peter Wright. That's all I can say.
That has left the Shanghai. Rowby-John has
46.
just lost a little bit of impetus there as well.
And he's left 118, which is not easy. Peter Wright on Shanghai of 20s. Now that's a tricky one because he shielded most of the 60. Rowby-John, if he gets 1 big treble, should get a shot at a double. Now I say should because the single will not be easy.
I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if both players were to have match darts here. Rowby-John, will he get the opportunity?
Right, he's got a choice. Risk the 60 or go 48 bull. Risk the 60. There was plenty on it, but he misses.
94.
And he asks Peter Wright, can you finish 60?
60.
Well, you suspect he can, and he does. And Peter Wright, once again for the second time today, breathes a huge, huge sigh of relief. Survived a big scare against Joe Cullen, surviving 5 match darts in his 3rd round match, and he has had to withstand a lot of pressure from Rowby-John Rodriguez to secure his place in the semi-finals here in Vienna. But I tell you what, he knows that he is going to have to raise his game in the semi-finals.
We verabschieden uns von Rowby-John Rodriguez.